So we're going to be talking about the basics of driving today. We're going to start from the ground and work our way up to the full swing. But before we even get started with that, as you can see, I have some lines drawn on the ground, which I'll further explain later. But what you could do at home if you don't have these lines on the ground, you can use alignment sticks or golf clubs. What you want to do is form a little T station. So you want to have the first alignment stick as a target line, so pointing right at your target, and the second one perpendicular to that for ball position. So let's start with tee height. So you want to tee up the ball so that half the ball is above the driver head. And you can check that by teeing the ball up and placing the driver head just behind the ball to see if it's where you want it. Next thing for ball position, start with your feet together, take a small step to the left and a bigger one to the right. That's going to place your ball position just inside your lead foot. Okay? Next thing you want to make sure you're doing, because your right hand is lower than your left on the club as a right-handed golfer, you want to make sure that your right shoulder is lower than your left. So there should be a slight tilt to your shoulders with setting up. Now as you're doing this and setting up, you might feel a little bit more pressure in your rear foot than in your lead foot, just because you're tilting this way. And that's very important as we go on here, and I'll explain that in a minute. Next thing you want to make sure you do is you want to have a nice relaxed grip pressure on a scale of 1 to 10, probably somewhere about a 4 or 5. And you want to make sure that your pressure into the ground is in the middle of your feet. So it's not too much on the toes or not too much in the heel. So you have a loose grip pressure and your pressure's in the middle of your feet. As we do this, as we set up, you'll notice that with the driver, because there's not much loft on the driver head, you want to keep your shaft fairly straight up and down. So you don't want it too far forward like this. As you can see, we're de-lofting the head or even pushing the face to aim a little right. And vice versa, if we go too far back like this, you're actually pushing the face to the left and adding loft. So we want to make sure the driver is nice and straight and your hands are in the center of your body. You can see my hands are almost on the inside of my left thigh. Okay? Next thing you want to do after you get set up in this position, you want to try to create some waggles in your pre-shot routine like this, or some toe taps, just to keep the tension reduced. So most people or most amateurs tend to grip the club and then they freeze over the ball and they get really, really tight. So once you get your grip on there, in order to maintain that nice relaxed grip pressure, make sure you're having some waggles and maybe some toe taps to keep the tension out of the rest of your body. As far as the swing goes, we want to make sure we make a nice big turn back and a nice full follow through where our eyes, our sternum or our buttons on our shirt, our belt buckle are pointing at the target, and you can see all the weight is shifted forward onto my lead foot. So if I did this without hitting a ball, it would look like turn and turn. Okay? And our goal here is to make sure that we're swinging and we're sweeping the ball off the tee. We're not trying to strike down on it. We're trying to actually sweep it off the tee very level, or actually hit up on the ball a little bit. That's going to allow us to get the maximum launch angle and let it float up in the air for a little bit and then fall and roll. We don't want to hit down on it because you're going to put too much backspin on it and it's not going to roll or carry nearly as far. Okay, so let's just repeat what we went over here. So we have, as we set up the tee height, just a little higher than the top of the ball. We have our ball position off the lead foot instep of the foot. We have our shoulders tilted a little bit because our right hand is lower than our left. We have our pressure in the ground right in the middle of our feet, not the balls of your feet or the heels. We have our grip pressure about a 4 or 5 on the scale, and then we're just going to make a nice big turn and turn so we can hit this ball. So let's try one. Make sure you hold your finish after you hit it so that you can actually see where the ball's going and observe your good shot that you hit. One last thing to comment, if you're having trouble hitting the ball straight, check where you're hitting it on the face. As you can see, I'll walk a little closer to the camera. I've sprayed some foot powder on here, and you can see I hit mine right in the center of the face. So if you're struggling with contact as you're doing these things, get some foot powder from your local CVS, Walgreens, or Publix, and spray it on your club and test to see where you're hitting it. You can adjust the ball position, the tee height, and everything accordingly depending on where you're hitting on the face. Thanks, and tune in next time.